I'm Sarah Coates. Thanks for joining me here on the news desk. Now, we begin in Jerusalem, where scuffles broke out between police and demonstrators overnight as thousands of people packed into an area near the official residence of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, calling on him to stand down over 3 criminal trials he's facing and his handling of coronavirus. Officers making a number of arrests for allegedly attacking police and disturbing public order. Now, fines were also given to people who weren't abiding by the Health Ministry guidelines, as the country is now into strict lockdown to deal with huge numbers of active coronavirus cases. The Knesset is looking to pass a bill this week which would limit the protests while the lockdown is imposed.
I really fear that the whole people of my society and the people around me and the people that are living here will not be able to express themselves, will not be able to live normal life anymore, because the way it seems for me now, the current rule is going into the way of fascism and for anti-democracy, and I cannot have it happen.
Long car chain from all over Israel to say what we feel about the situation in Israel right now. To save Israel from becoming a dictatorship, to save the Israel democracy from the hands of Benjamin Netanyahu.
Let's now bring in Yariv Oppenheimer, who is the former director of the Peace Now movement. Yariv, thanks so much for coming on. You were actually there last night. We've just seen these dramatic images coming through. Tell me exactly, how did the night play out? We've seen these arrests. What actually happened there?
Well, actually, everything started before the demonstration. A huge convoy of thousands of cars made its way from all around the country to Jerusalem. It was really something unique and unprecedented in Israel time. And then in the demonstration itself, actually it started pretty good, with many people with a lot of energy, a feeling that we are doing something that it's almost historical, coming to demonstrate, although the government is doing whatever they can in order to prevent it. And then the police, a bit later, became much more violent than usual. Came into the crowd many times, taking down some big speakers and giving fines to many people, usually without a real reason. And the feeling was that the message to the police was accepted and delivered, and the police treat the citizens like they are some kind of enemies. Mm-hmm. I was in many demonstrations before in Jerusalem, in Balfour Street. This one was much more violent and much more hostile coming from the police.
So you're saying there, Yariv, that these people who were arrested and also fined didn't actually breach regulations which have been laid out. Do you believe that these protesters should be waiting until the end of lockdown, or do you believe it's a fundamental right that they should be able to get out and make their voices heard?
Most of the people that got fines got it without a reason. Of course, there were a few that got fines because they didn't wear a mask, etc. But most of the people, I felt that the police are really looking to see if people hug each other or something, but this is the minor issue. The big issue is about the right to protest. And I think that what we are seeing today is that the government and actually the Prime Minister is doing whatever he can in order to prevent people to express their anger, to express their fear from this government and the policy, and trying to silence us with laws. This is unacceptable, even in the corona time. This is undemocratic. And we need to remember that the solution to the coronavirus is in the demonstrations, because these people are asking for a different leadership, a different priorities, a different policy. And this is the reason why these demonstrations are not just about democracy and about Netanyahu. It's about our daily life and the chance that Israel will be able to cope with this crisis normally. And this is why these demonstrations are so important. And when we see the amounts of efforts that Netanyahu is making in order to stop them, we know that they are even more important than maybe we thought at the beginning.
So Yariv, what do you see come Tuesday with, that day slated as a possible day where they will put this bill to the Knesset to try and restrict these demonstrations and try to stop people from travelling to Jerusalem to make their voice heard?
I still hope that the opposition, together with Blue and White, will be able to prevent this law from passing, like happened last week. And if the law will pass, at least it will be only for a very short time, maybe 1 week or 2 weeks of the special closure, and not for later on when the coronavirus, until we will get a vaccine, because Netanyahu wished to stop the demonstration until the vaccine. And this is, of course, unacceptable, undemocratic, and eventually the people will not obey to a law that will prevent them to express their views. And the government, the Knesset, has to take it into consideration as well.
So what is your final message, Yariv, to the government and to Benjamin Netanyahu?
My message is that Israel is democracy and we have the right to protest. And if the law will be that we are not allowed to protest, we will find a way to continue the protest and to make it even bigger. And yesterday we saw, not just in Jerusalem, but all around the country, that more and more people believe today and understand today that the current government is dangerous for the people of Israel. It's not the demonstrations that are dangerous, it's the fight against democracy that is dangerous, and this policy of the government is actually creating this big crisis that Israel cannot cope with the coronavirus.
All right, Yariv Oppenheimer there. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting to us. Pleasure.
Thanks.
Now, as I mentioned, COVID-19 cases continue to spike here in Israel, with nearly 6,000 cases detected over the last 24 hours. Now, the country is into its third day of a strict nationwide lockdown, with the movement of people restricted to just over half a mile from their homes. Most businesses are closed, with the exception of supermarkets and pharmacies. Police have put up roadblocks and are checking vehicles, along with officers who are on foot patrol, handing out fines for people disobeying orders like not wearing a mask, with authorities saying thousands of fines have already been issued. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issuing an apology for the second lockdown.
We heard the experts. Some said we can stay open. I think, and most ministers agreed, that a full lockdown is required. Were mistakes made? Of course. Our decision to open event halls too fast, maybe the decision to open the schools was also too quick. The populist decisions in the parliament to cancel restrictions that we, the government, placed after the rise in infections, completely wrong.
This is Israel's healthcare workers, and the system they operate is on the brink of collapse, with many facilities turning people away as cases increase.
If you ask me if I'm on the brink of a black hole or in it, we're already in it.
We do need to go out for a short commercial break, but when we come back, concern around the world as the fate of issues such as healthcare, abortion rights and same-sex marriage may be on the line if Trump's pick for the highest court is confirmed. We'll have all of the details right after this. Stay with us.